His name was Daniel Mercer, and he owned half the shipping lanes on the eastern seaboard, 3 luxury hotels in Miami, and a private jet he used the way most people use taxis. But none of that mattered on the morning he climbed into a beat-up Kenworth, truck wearing borrowed work boots and a flannel, shirt that smelled like diesel in someone else's life. It was his idea, a ridiculous, impulsive idea born out of a boardroom. Argument? To go undercover and see why his latest acquisition, a mid-sized trucking company called Hartwell Freight, was hemorrhaging money despite his team's aggressive restructuring. His executives had blamed inefficiency, lazy drivers, outdated routes. But Daniel had learned long ago that numbers lie when people are afraid of the man reading them. So he decided to become someone the numbers couldn't hide from. He told no one. He drove to the depot in New Jersey under the name Dan Miller, a temp hire, and that was the morning he first saw Grace Hartwell. She was standing on the loading dock in a yellow safety vest, clipboard in hand, arguing fiercely with a logistics coordinator twice her size. Her voice steady and sharp as a blade, her dark hair pulled back under a hard hat. And Daniel's first thought was not that she was beautiful, though she was, but that she was someone who had never once in her life backed down from anything. What he didn't know yet was that Grace was the daughter of the man whose company he had just dismantled, that the Hartwell Freight her father had built over 40 years had once employed 200 people in this town, that Daniel's acquisition team had slashed that number to 63 in 8 months, that Grace's father had suffered a heart attack 3 weeks after the takeover and was now recovering in a home he could barely afford, and that Grace herself had taken a pay cut to stay on and fight from the inside, because she refused to abandon the remaining drivers who had nowhere else to go. Daniel learned all of this slowly, the way you learn things. When you are just a man with a truck and a thermos of bad coffee and 12 hours of highway ahead of you. Grace was assigned as his route coordinator for the first 2 weeks, which meant she briefed him each morning, checked his logs, and occasionally rode along to audit new drivers on unfamiliar corridors. She was professional and exacting and completely unimpressed by him, which was a sensation Daniel had genuinely forgotten existed. She told him once, on a long stretch of I-78 with rain hammering the windshield, that the company used to have a soul before the new ownership arrived, that her father had known every driver by name, that there used to be a Christmas bonus and a summer barbecue and a sense that the work mattered beyond the bottom line. And Daniel sat with those words and felt them settle into him like stones into still water. He began to see everything differently. He saw Raymond, 61 years old, driving overnight routes to pay his granddaughter's tuition. He saw Maya, a single mother who had been denied the flexible schedule she requested after the restructuring, choosing between her job and her child's school pickup every single day. He saw the vending machine in the break room that had been broken for 4 months and never repaired, because maintenance budgets had been frozen, and he understood then, with a clarity that embarrassed him, that efficiency was never the problem here. Cruelty dressed in spreadsheet. Language was the problem. He told Grace one evening in the depot parking lot, just before she drove home, that he thought the company had lost its way, and she looked at him with tired eyes and said she thought the company had been deliberately steered off a cliff by people who saw workers as liabilities instead of human beings, and she didn't know how much longer she could hold the pieces together. He reached for her hand without thinking. She let him take it for exactly 3 seconds before pulling away and saying she didn't make a habit of crying in parking lots in front of co-workers, and he almost laughed, except that his chest hurt too much. The truth came out the way it always does, too soon and all at once. A photographer from a financial blog recognized him at a truck stop in Pennsylvania, and by the next morning his name was everywhere. Grace found out the same way everyone else did, through a phone screen, and when she walked into the depot and saw him standing by the dispatch office, she looked at him with an expression he knew he would carry for the rest of his life. He didn't make excuses. He told her everything. What he had seen, what he had understood, what he intended to change. And then he told her the part that scared him most, which was that somewhere between the bad coffee and the rain on I-78 and the 3 seconds in the parking lot, he had stopped pretending to be someone worth knowing and had started actually trying to become one. He reinstated every cut position, He restored the bonuses. He fixed the vending machine. He called Grace's father and asked to be walked through the company's original values. Listening like a man taking notes for an exam, he knew he had already failed once. And one Sunday afternoon, 6 months later, Grace met him at the same parking lot and gave him the 3 seconds back, plus everything that came after. If this story reminded you that real change begins the moment we choose to truly see each other, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner Stories, where every story is a reminder that humanity is still worth believing in.